As you know, the NCCI is the premier voice of business in Namibia. And the Windhoek branch focuses on articulating the issues affecting business people within Windhoek, or shall we rather say maybe within the commerce region. Now, having said that, because we are elected, we do not present personal views of our enterprises, but we present the views, the collective views of the business community within the boundaries of Windhoek. But be it as it may, Your Worship, Windhoek has got a very unique, shall I say, situation. Windhoek is the seat of government. It is the capital of the Republic of Namibia. And to a very large extent, people in our country look at what is happening in Windhoek, which means that they take a lead and build on possibly what we are able to come up with from this particular beautiful city. It is within that context that we view this dialogue very important and also critical to the realization of the business growth that we all so much desire. Having said that, Your Worship, when we were elected into office as business leaders, we went through processes of consultation amongst the business community. And we also know that our business community is also represented through creation of targeted associations. For example, you'll have an association dealing with professional hunters. You'll have an association dealing with accommodation establishments. You'll have an association dealing with the construction industry. So the list goes on. So we took time to consult widely. And out of that consultation, we came up with the issues that, in our view, if they were to be addressed, can help to stimulate our economy. Our economy is really at a very low. What does that really mean in very simple terms? It means that there are many businesses that have closed down. And when a business closes down, it means a lot of things. People lose jobs. And when people lose jobs, they lose income. And when they lose income, they may not even be able to pay for the municipal services. It also touches on the dignity of the people, because they begin to feel the pressure and almost begin to feel hopeless. On top of that, whilst businesses are closing down, it looks like the environment presents itself not so friendly to stimulate businesses. So you've got businesses closing down, but on the other hand, it's also not so easy to do business. So it becomes very difficult from a business perspective then to talk about stimulating the economy. Having said that, we got together and we collectively agreed on the areas that we need to focus on in order to make some impact. I'll just quickly list them to you. One of the areas that we have identified as a serious challenge, it's policy interventions. When we talk about policy, we're talking from national, regional, and local. Our policies are not speaking to one another if you begin to assess them. And that's really a challenge. So which means that more or less we have developed some silo mentality. We all want to build the country, we all want to do something that is common for the country, but our policies are not talking to each other. So we've identified that, and we have also touched on the specific policies that we believe could be addressed. The second aspect that we have identified, we say that we've got an economic challenge, but at the same time, the question that we are asking is that with the resources that we have, how small they may be, how are we applying those resources? What do I mean? We've got a national budget that is currently going through a conversation in Parliament. We've got regional budgets, and then we have got local budgets. Now let's just talk about Windhoek. You've got a significant budget, but are we having a conversation around how this budget is deployed and what impact it actually has on our economy? Do we know how many jobs it's creating? How many jobs it's sustaining? Who are the beneficiaries of this budget from an economic point of view? So our view is that that conversation is not taking place. But we believe if it can take place, it can improve synchronizing our interests and our collective desire to make an economic impact in our locality. So let's park it there. I'm just highlighting. Now, in terms of the specific sectors that we've identified, not in any order of significance, but we've identified investment in infrastructure as an important stimulus into the economy. When we talk about infrastructure, it can be maintenance of infrastructure or it can be creation of new infrastructure. Both in that space exist opportunities for our business people. Now, the biggest challenge with this infrastructure is that we know a lot of resources are being deployed, both by our national government as well as our local governments. But are our local people participating in this? So we are saying we would like to appeal to our leaders, especially the political leaders, to basically make it mandatory, if that is the right English word, that no infrastructure development project will take place without participation of our own local people. Why? Why are we saying that? Because our local people are here. We need to develop the skills of our own people. If we don't give them the opportunity, when will those skills be developed? Now, we appreciate the importation of skills because we need them, but to us, it is just disastrous if an infrastructure project is allocated, let's say, to a foreign company, and all the proceeds that are paid for that project is literally exported from the country. But if our local people were to participate, then the money will have an opportunity to circulate in our economy, and that's what we need. And right now, we are suffering because we do not have sufficient circulation of money in our economy. So that's the background to why we say it should be mandatory. And then the trading sector is the second one that we have identified. On the trading sector, what we are really saying is that the majority of our people are traditionally traders, from informal to medium to big. That's what we've been exposed to. Now, what we are saying is that what policies are we putting in place to support our local traders? What is there that we can do for them? So maybe we need to interrogate that, because if we don't do that, we'll forget about them and we'll be busy with other things. And in the meantime, the very foundation of the people that created who we are today in terms of trading are not being taken care of. And then we've also identified the tourism sector. The tourism sector is one of the sectors that has got low-lying hanging fruits in terms of job creation. There are so many opportunities that, if harnessed, we can quickly create jobs. For example, when we had the tourism conversation with the Honorable Minister of Tourism, it was stated there that for you to be, what is it, is it a tour operator or a driver? Tour guide, you must have some minimum age of, is it 27 years or something? Now, we've got many people who have got the desire to be in that space, young people, we are talking about youth unemployment, but our own policy actually restricts us from participating in that space, and it is a space that can create a lot of jobs. So this has been taken care of, and hopefully it will be amended so that that requirement can be lowered. And then the mining sector was also identified as a key sector that would create job opportunities and stimulation of the economy, as well as the health sector was also identified as a key area of stimulus for the economy. And then agriculture also is a key area to contribute towards stimulating the economy. And then logistics sector, which deals with exploiting the opportunity that our infrastructure as a country can offer, not only for Namibia, but also for the sub-region. And then ICT, which is basically the future in terms of the fourth industrial revolution. And then finally, we had a conversation around the role of media in creating a positive image for our business environment and the country. What we are saying in that particular space is that, you know, Namibians in general, we're very critical of ourselves, and there is nothing wrong with that. But we need to watch this because we don't exist in isolation. When we sit here and all we do is to criticize one another without talking about solutions, those people that may have an interest in investing in our country may become a little bit skeptical and say, wait a minute, there's something maybe not right in this country. Maybe we need to reconsider another country as a destination for investment. So whilst we are not saying that we want to tamper with media freedom to report on anything that it wishes to report on, we are just appealing to say that we need to be mindful of not shooting ourselves in the foot by creating a very bad negative image to would-be potential investors in our own economy, because we need those investments. So, Director of Ceremonies, I've just attempted to highlight at high level the areas that we are looking at addressing. But for the city of Windhoek in particular, within that context, we've got specific ones which later we'll highlight, which come from the conversation of last time. And we are very, very, very much positive and hopeful that the resources that you have introduced here, Your Worship, and through the CEO, we would like to see a close working relationship with these colleagues, because we want to know how to access them, where to find them, how do we get to them, how can they reach out to us, so that we can then look at creating that relationship that can help to harness the type of solutions that we want to generate together in order to hopefully improve the quality of lives of our people at the end of the day. So therefore, on that note, we are very much hopeful and confident that with this dialogue, we'll be able now to zoom into the specifics. And we just want to say to you, through you, Your Worship, that we need business confidence. And business confidence is not something that we can buy in a shop. You know, if we could go to a shop and say, I want to buy business confidence, we'll all go there and buy it. It's something that we need to work on and create. And we really believe that we as Namibians have got the capacity to develop that business confidence so that people can begin to spend or want to spend their money in our economy. And this is why we are so delighted to see councillors taking time out here to be here, because it shows that you are serious to us, because we can see that. And also personally, Your Worship, for taking time to be here. We're just hoping that we need to find a way of bringing the regional councillors on board, because at the end of the day, they represent constituencies, and if they are not here, we are not so sure how those needs could potentially be taken care of in terms of the engagement that we are having. So on that note, we would like to assure you from our side that we are committed, we are serious, and we've got very, very high expectations from our politically elected leaders to make sure that we don't only talk about these things, but we work very hard on making sure that we deliver to the business people in terms of the expectations that they have, which ultimately will trigger to the benefits of our residents. I hope that clarifies it, and I hope it also articulates how high expectations we have, and we hope and are confident that if we put the energy and the time, we can actually make a difference as a collective. So on that note, I hope that through you, Your Worship, I've highlighted the matters at high level, as my brother Kauta said. So thank you very much.
I am delighted to be amongst you this morning as we gathered here at this occasion at which we are once again reviving the Mayoral Business Forum after a few years it have been dormant. I do not doubt that many years of you have been waiting for this day as a platform at which the mayor, the city council, the officials, our technocrats, leadership to interact with business community on matters related to economic and development agenda in our city. Let me therefore applaud the Namibia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Windhoek branch, for agreeing, partnering with us, and more particularly to revive this platform that we are doing today, for committing time and to come and exchange ideas with us on a common consensus and share means that will fast track the economic development of our city. The main objective of Windhoek Mayoral Business Forum is to strengthen the linkage and the communication between the council and the business community in planning and development process of our city. And as I'm saying, development means at the beginning stage, your inputs, especially this time when we are busy with our budgeting of our city. Unlike the other important public participations meetings, discussions during this forum are focused on strategic planning and mutual beneficial strategy related to economic development of Windhoek. This is therefore a unique platform created for us to exchange ideas on what kind of the city we would like to live in by guiding its development agenda. And that is going to be discussed in detail when we are discussing our strategic planning that is going to be presented by the CEO. But the residents, yourself as a business community and also residents, you are the one to guide together with us as a city planners what kind of a city where you want to stay, what kind of development that you want to see, and you are having that role as a commerce and industry chamber. You are having that very critical, important role that you can play on. There is no doubt that our city boasts good reputations amongst other cities in the world in terms of cleanliness, although we are trying to reclaim that. I understand we were beaten by Kingali, but that is one of our priority also, to make sure that we retain, because you really want to have that conducive environment. When you are talking about investors, when you are talking about tourism, you really want to have the city that can attract some of those investors. Availability of social services and the quality of infrastructures, and remains ideally locations for business and investment. However, with persistence global economic downturn, the microeconomic environment in Namibia, particularly Windhoek, would not be left behind, as per recent economic reports of combinations of the factors amongst others: slow growth, an imbalance with local economy, less foreign direct investment, and currently with the droughts and other shortages of water supply that has a negative impact to the Namibia economy as it is rated. Despite the challenges and the development of central business district areas called CBD is a clear testimony that our business community are positively responding to the city call and revitalize the CBD areas, which goes almost quite after 18 hours on weekends, days. And I think together with you, we really need to shape, because this is the face, when you are talking about central business district, is the face of the city. And probably after working hours, people want to go and relax and have fun and take their glass of wine just to relax after hard working a day. Some of us, we want to do that also. But probably you do have a CBD that is dormant, that cannot even attract people. After 6 o'clock, it's already closed immediately with those shops. I think we need to do that, and we really need to fast track that. I'm also encouraged that observe many development taking place in the outskirts of our city, like the continuous expansion of Growth Mall and construction of new highway leading to Hosea Kutako International Airport. I am thus certain that when we look back, we'll see a greater achievement, and if we look before us, we will see promising future. Allow me, therefore, to use this opportunity to thank the business community for their continuous confidence that you have mentioned, Chairperson, in the Windhoek economy, and we really need to improve on that one. While acknowledging the positive from the business community to develop our city, the Council remains concerned with slow pace at which investors are taking up development opportunity to the western suburbs of the city. And I think it was alluded by Mr. Hambunda here, and most of the political leaders will also agree that we really want also development. Consider that area. Katutura, local is Leker. Me and you, we are coming from Katutura and the informal settlement. When we are talking about development, we don't need to move. People from Katutura should not move to the CBD or to the main township, the suburbs, but they should remain there in Havana. If all the development, mixed developments are there, that can also attract them and to prevent them not going to Growth Mall. But those who are residing these areas of Subabasias and Clean, Coupe and others are the ones to use those facilities. But a person who is staying in Dongerhoek or for merely Herrero Lokasi or Damara Lokasi for merely, because nowadays we don't say Damara Lokasi anymore, it's for merely formal. They should remain there in that area. People from Havana, A councillor who is residing there in Vanahenda, called Samora Machel constituency, should not come here just to come and do shopping, but he rather remain that area where he can do some shopping. And we really need serious business, not this small kapana, BSH and so on. We really need deals, serious deals in those locations. Investors, your friends, talk to them and make sure that at least we change the face of Katutura. Colonially, I know that in the 80s and so on, at least we did not have even a shopping malls like ShopRites there in old Combons. But at least there is. But let's also increase more to invest in those areas. That side of Ramatex. Share with us, CEO, what is our future about Ramatex? See, just idling there, dormant, without any other development. What are we doing as a city? If we don't have the resources at our disposal, why don't we partner with them? And then we do business. It's how we do business. We cannot remain idling with land that is also not utilized in the city. And then we are still waiting money coming from where heaven. Jesus one day is coming. For Christians, we believe so. But why don't we move and say, Jesus one day when he comes, at least we meet him halfway. And then we go to heaven. And we need to think bigger and bigger. And really, we need type of the planners in the cities, type of the leadership in the city, political leaders who can change their mind and think beyond than that in the eras of the 21st century. Not years back. Because the needs and the aspiration of yesterday are completely different. And if we really want to be serious, this is a way to move and partnering with business community. And you business community, you should also not disappoint us. Once we give you that opportunity, once we enter into the deals of business, previously, I'm really disturbed. We have signed a deal through probably 10 private-public partnership of business land. And when the colleagues came to us with nice business proposals, wearing ties and suits and, executives, Mayor, I'm telling you, we want to change the city. Let's get into the deal. Councillors, we were convinced, but today some of this land deals that we have sold to those that we enter into a private-public partnerships are still lying. Talk to them. Let's give them pressure also. Otherwise, we'll take back the land. And we can remain with that. And then we can cancel that deal and sign with others. There's nothing wrong with that. Because there is provision. I know that legally you will challenge us, but there are those who have ended up with us. What is the problem? Is it money problems? If not, the deal is not working, come back to the drawing table and let's see how we can revive. That's why we are saying also as a city, we can also not remain with idling land. But we can also not sell land for just peanut butter, Mr. Kauta. But we know the economic, but we can talk. In terms of the price, we can talk. Gentlemen talk on the table. But they are the ones to make decisions, not me. I'm just talking as a politician, but the rest can remain paperwork and so on. The Council in 2017 adopted 5-year transformational strategic 2017-2022 as a roadmap through which service delivery and development which be guided. This strategy, amongst others, that is going to be presented by our CEO later in the program, encourages win-and-win public-private partnership, a concept that has become a key to unlocking local economic development. The strategy further encourage balanced development, putting priority to service delivery in the informal settlement. That's our concern, and I have already mentioned that. I am therefore happy to note that part of our program, the CEO of the City of Windhoek will share in your presentations on his presentation 5-year strategic, 5-year transformational plan. Ladies and gentlemen, the sustained water availability challenge remains a serious concern, and there have been some warnings, and you saw it also in the newspaper yesterday, that we really need to save water. And you business community, you should also assist us as much as we are trying to put measures in place so that at the end of the day it might not affect us or have a negative impact on the water scarcity, more particularly on industry due to the poor rainfall. However, as a council, we are having some efforts that we have put in place, both human consumption and economic activity. It is also important to mention Council will continuously working together with central government on how to best mitigate water shortages in the central areas country. In the same vein, I have already called that we really need to adhere to the measures that are there, that we have put in place. It is my wish that the Windhoek Mayoral Business Forum, as you said, this is a platform to discuss real issues, and you have already articulated very, very important issues that we really need to engage this morning and also graft the way forward. And I think Honorable Cornelius and your team, Mr. Hambunda, this agreement that we have signed with NCCI should not just be a pure memorandum of understanding, but it should have actions that will be a beneficiary to both parties, the City of Windhoek and also the NCCI. It's an opportunity to promote the cooperation, networking, information sharing, so that at least they will understand even our policy. Why should we hide? And if we think that there is policies that hamper the progress for them not to do business in our city, why don't we recall them and make amendments to some of those policies? The ones that is in our hands, we will be able to advocate them to the parliamentarians to see how they can look to some of those policies and laws. But the ones that is in our mandate, forward them to the council, let the council deal with them to foster relations that led a smart, because we are talking about smart city, a smart economic development solutions, and this is a platform that we really need to come together. And I'm very, very happy since we met probably 2 years back when some of those concerns were raised, and I was also informed that this afternoon, this morning, that we are also going to launch a business forum online platform where we are going to express, you as business community, you are going to express your concern. Because last time when we met, it was only in 2016, now 2019, and let's meet quarterly. That will be able to appreciate what we are doing, whether there is progress or there is no progress. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, honorable councillors, I'm very, very excited. That's why I went beyond my speech. Thank you.
I think what we need to appreciate is that this biggest municipality is blessed with capacity and highly skilled people. Our challenge is to get the best out of this team. And this is also clearly captured in our transformation and strategic plan to the benefit of our residents and all the stakeholders. Council proposed a capex budget of around 300 million. We are working on a cash budget, if I may put it that way. The years of having a wish list has come to an end. We can only execute and implement what we can finance. And also allow me, Your Worship and Honorable Councillors, just to touch on this issue. There are certain functions in the municipality that needs to be cross-subsidized. The funding model of the municipality, it should be cross-subsidized by rates and taxes. In summary, we have our public transport. From our last budget discussion, 90%, it's only recouping 10% of the operational budget. Public transportation, 90%, it needs to be subsidized. Public safety, city police, same number with a budget of 300 million. Emergency services, also subsidized, not by central government, by council. And I can continue and continue. If you look at our community services, the ECD centers, the early childhood development centers that council is running, catering for over 1,000 kids. Huge social programs, unfortunately of which most of the residents are not even aware of. If you go to South Africa, not to go even to Europe, the cities of this world, their capital budget, to the tune of 80%, they are fully financed and carried by central government. What challenge do we have? We have to create the asset. If we are not lucky to finance it through TPEC, which we have got some funds, or maybe it has come to an end, but also targeted intervention. The city only benefit from targeted capital projects intervention from central government. For this specific budget, the colleagues are here. We are talking about 16 million for electrification in the informal settlement. What else do we have? Water projects due to the crisis. We all know the issue of water crisis is getting the highest office attention. So there is some money there addressing the issue of water supply. How much? 45 million for water supply. I said 16 million for electrification of the informal settlement. What else? That's it for now. The rest, this council must create that asset. Colleagues, it's a serious dilemma in creating a sustainable vehicle going forward. Some of us that are here are not going to be here tomorrow. We are already termed as one of the most expensive cities in the world. What is causing that? Is the recoupment of cost. If we are expected to create the asset as council, we have to recoup that capital. In addition to that, the operation of that asset, the operational cost of that asset, where is it recouped? From the same consumers. All what I want to bring across is the current funding model is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. There is no way we can continue milking the same resident like tomorrow they are not going to be there. And we need, and that's why I'm disclosing this information. The city of Windhoek is not a ShopRite of this world. The city of Windhoek is a public entity. We are a local authority. We are serving the heart of government. We are serving the end consumers. So this is the dilemma that the honorable councillors and ourselves as technocrats find ourselves in. And this reality won't disappear overnight. If we need a sustainable vehicle in a city of Windhoek at our level, we seriously need government support. I cannot overemphasize that, honestly. So I just wanted to diffuse some of those issues. Whenever you talk about funding, people only talk about, no, yeah, you are just remunerating yourself. That's not the issue. We are well within our limit. The issue here is about sustainable funding going forward. I don't want to find a day where council will take drastic steps of let's retrench because we cannot survive. It will never be expected of this vehicle. So I just wanted to share that reality. And that's why in our transformational strategic plan, which I will briefly share with you, there is a key indicator in there of making the city a sustainable organization going forward. So allow me to touch on the issues. Globally, I've already mentioned we are not in isolation. If we ever thought we are in isolation, the reality has already hit us. That's why we are going down. And the residents and stakeholders in Windhoek, their demands are actually increasing every day. As it was mentioned by the mayor, His Worship the Mayor, that these demands and these challenges, colleagues, cannot be resolved by what we have been doing over the last 20 years. This organization, under the guidance of Council, as we speak, this organization is in transformation. It doesn't matter that change, how long it will take. What Council have realized, if we don't change, although we know it's the most unlikely thing to happen, this organization will go down. If we don't change the way we do things, we are going backwards. And Council won't be in a position to fulfill the mandate, which is clearly articulated in the Local Authority Act. This is a reality that faces this big municipality. And that's why Council have adopted this transformation and strategic plan. It has to happen. We are 2 years down the line, irrespective of the economic downturn that has been mentioned. I think we have made good progress. The biggest thing is the culture within the organization which we are dealing with, but we are heading there. At least the roadmap and the blueprint is clearly articulated. Clearly articulated. The reality that faces us, monopolies like municipalities have to change. We have to treat our residents and our customers like, if they don't get service at my desk, they are going next door. That is the culture we are creating in this organization. It needs to transform into a customer-focused organization. From where I'm sitting, if we can achieve that, we can tap ourselves. We have managed to transform one of the biggest organizations with huge impact on residents. Currently, it's a culture of entitlement. We don't even realize the residents out there, even living in Havana, in the business community that is here, they are actually paying for our salaries as officials of this institution. It's a wrong mentality. And that's what we are trying to change as leadership of the organization. We need to change. Those people out there, they sustain this organization. So in a nutshell, those are where the impact is coming from. We had no other choice but to rethink our business model, as I've just articulated to you, honorable members of the business community. Change is here, and we have embraced change. It doesn't matter how long we have taken. This organization needs to change. And that is what is clearly articulated in our strategic plan. This 5-year plan, I'll be running through. If there are any notes, please just make notes. Where are we coming from? We are coming from an integrated business plan that ended 2016. 2017, we adopted the transformational strategic plan. This is change, not color coding. The organization needs to change. Complete change. So Mr. Shipanga, from your time, the challenges that face this organization 10 years, 15 years back, in actual fact have not changed. What we need to change is the way we tackle those issues. The financial constraints of this organization have not changed. We are facing a cash flow problem. Maybe what is different is what was called technically bankruptcy of a city. We completed our asset register. This organization has got an asset register or asset base worth 54 billion Namibian dollars. Our balance sheet is not the issue. It's just the way we do business. Now that we have passed that stage and we are looking at financial accountability, which we hope to achieve at least, if not the year that ended 2018, this is to get a clean audit or remove most of the disclaimers. We are determined to get a clean audit as the biggest municipality in this country. We need to account for that budget, which is very close to 5 billion. So council have committed, we have deployed resources, we have gone out of our way, we have a fully CA qualified young man, Mr. Mutonga. You are part of the transformation. He is the first CA in the city, he is there, in our age. Oh, they want to see you, Mr. Mutonga, please rise. He is the acting SE Finance. He is a chartered accountant. Okay, maybe just to. We need $1 billion organization. If we are serious about the results, it's all about the people that you surround yourselves. And council have made that commitment. We are not going to compromise on resources. We are on this transformational journey and we need the business sector in incentivizing this organization. This organization belongs to you. It cannot go down. There's no way the city will go down. It can't and it shouldn't. There's a lot at stake. That's why we see residents, they would rather face hardships in the backyard of Windhoek rather than staying either in Rundu or Nana or Kakarara, wherever you name it. Why? The ripple effects of business in the backyard of Windhoek, it is lucrative enough to sustain the people out there. All right, colleagues, it's reality. There is a lot at stake in Windhoek. And that's why we have committed ourselves as council. We will do whatever we can with these limited resources to transform this organization to the benefit of our residents, including our business community. I'm coming from energy. We used to say, and that's a business of municipality, we cross-subsidize. I've just mentioned the operational budget. A big portion is subsidized. And I've just mentioned, unfortunately, we are not directly subsidized by central government. It's reality, we cannot run away from it. It's only targeted intervention on the smallest portion of our capital budget. So what does it mean? The business community as well, you need to assist this council to cross-subsidize the business going forward. We cannot hide it, this reality is there. The affluent customers of Windhoek equally have to cross-subsidize the residents in Havana and the other areas. We cannot hide this from you. It's reality that is in our face. But we need to find a sustainable funding model. Sustainable funding model. so that when we leave one day, we leave a sustainable organization going forward. If we continue using this cross-subsidization indefinitely, believe me, we are going to leave the most expensive city, not only in Africa, but also in the top 10 in the world. I don't think that is the desire of government. So, our honorable members of the business community, that is the vision that council adopted. We don't only want to be a smart organization, we take cognizance that 1/3 of our residents are actually residing in the informal settlement. We are not blind. We are not the Amsterdam of this world, smart cities of this world. And that's why we want to be smart as well as at the same time a caring city. How do we do that? We have smart metering, smart technologies. Yes, they can bring down your cost and make you efficient. But also, we need to consider the culture and the people that we want to serve. They are different. Their needs are different. So we are looking at a combination of best practice. We are looking at affordable green interventions as well. Renewable energy is on our strategic plan, as well as clean, as it has been mentioned, and any technology that can assist us to achieve that. The caring part is focusing on our people. Public safety won't be compromised in Windhoek, and that's why city police is there. People as well as to become a service-oriented organization. I'll run through this. Why do we exist? It's for that purpose. We don't exist here to serve ourselves. We are here to serve the people out there. And not just by rendering a service, that service must be efficient and an effective municipal service. It is the tone has been set, everyone is looking up to Windhoek. What is there as a standard that other local municipalities can look up to us? If we don't continue to grow and to transform ourselves, to set that pace and the standard that is needed in the municipal sector. Values, why we do what we do, why we are here, the culture that should prevail should be undertoned by those values. I cannot give you a guarantee that is happening. We are currently busy with a culture assessment survey. We are diagnosing what is happening out there so that we can reposition this council in the institution going forward. So those values, that's what we believe should be able to enable us to achieve the set vision as well as the mandate why we're here. Customer focus is there. We have gone out of our way. We created a division responsible for customer service with a manager dedicated. We want to centralize customer service. We want to change the culture of this organization. If we can do that, I think it's one target that can be ticked off. Now, just to come to the alignment of this transformation and strategic plan, theme 1, we have only 2 themes. Theme 1, financial sustainability and governance issues. Theme 2, social progression, economic advancement. The most important part, you need infrastructure to improve what we want to do on service delivery. Under theme 1, those are the strategic objectives. I don't need to go through all of them. I'm just demonstrating the alignment of our strategic plan to both HPP, Arabe Prosperity Plan, as well as the government plans that are in place. This process was done in conjunction with Commerce Regional Council. This region is one of those regions where almost 90% of Commerce region is fully represented by Windhoek as a municipality. And that's why in our stakeholder consultation, that's why it was done like that. And that's why also constituency councillors are invited to some of these interventions. Those are the strategic objectives under that theme. The honorable members will see there is financial accountability there. We need to protect the revenue that we are getting. There's a lot of leakages in the system. The organization is just too big. So as part of that, we have identified activities to do that. The smart procurement ICT services is also in there. Stakeholder funding is also in there. We are talking to central government on those shortcomings that I've already mentioned. There is one issue that might also affect your business. It is the inefficiencies that was in urban planning and property management. When we arrived and we were busy with this strategic plan, it used to take 6 months, up to 6 months, for a building plan to be approved. It's unacceptable. Council have come up with a target and an indicator, the turnaround time for a business plan to be approved, not a business plan, building plan, my apology, should take not more than 28 days. And we are measuring this. From the last assessment, we are not only talking, we are measuring this. It should not take more than 28 days. We have tested the system is doable. And we have incorporated in my performance contract and also the executive and whoever is responsible, we are monitoring that specific target. Very good indications. We are very close to achieving that, and we will continue monitoring that. The reality of the cost that I just demonstrated to you, honorable members, 60% of our operational budget that I just shared with you. Remember I've said 30% is remuneration. Between 50 to 60%, where does it go? Water and energy and electricity. It goes to NAMPower and NAMWater. Council is not just hitting colleagues, we need to diversify. We've realized over the last 2 years, I think 3 years back, almost the taps of Windhoek ran dry. Because NAMPower and NAMWater have done what they're good at. They said, yes, it's our mandate, but sorry, we can't supply as we find ourselves in. You must be an irresponsible organization not to take strategic interventions to diversify that specific risk. What did we do? We have taken initiatives to diversify our reliance, not only on NAMWater, also on NAMPower. This reality is there. We cannot sit with folded hands. This reality that is in our face. Council have taken initiatives. It will be part of the projects that I will touch on as I go forward. Customer care is there. I've already said we created a division that was not there. One day we might have even a department responsible for customer service. Why not? That's why we are here. We are here to serve the residents out there the best we can. Another strategic objectives under theme 2, there they are, public transport. If you look at the realities, which I will also present later, public transport in the city have escalated in terms of importance from top 5 to top 3. And this is one of the interventions which I just mentioned. Who is subsidizing public transport? Everyone else in the same port of the city. If we were strictly business, these are some of the functions that you would say they are not economically feasible. But we can. That's why we are here as a municipality. Public transport is becoming important, especially as the city is growing. The city is growing immensely. And that's why public transport has become important and is becoming important by the day. Fortunately, we don't have the resources to buy the bus fleet that we actually need. We know what we need, but we don't have the money, the capital. But if you look at the theme 2 strategic objectives, there they are. The vulnerable groups are well covered, including the youth. We have to increase access to services. These are the basic services, as we are doing now with electrification in the informal settlement. I don't need to say more on the water security part. I think the media briefing that was done, NAMWater have said, indicated from supplying us almost 60-70%, we are reducing to 35%, if I'm not mistaken. we have to strike a balance between the remainder. Councillors' own resources of the water reclamation plant, as well as our boreholes, which is our aquifer. Reality in our face, and we had to do something about it. There is huge projects that needs to be realized on increasing, converting waste affluence of wastewater to potable water. Currently, maybe 20%. We want to increase that even bigger. If we can achieve that to 40%, why not? Because even when you do the numbers, it is cheaper to reclaim that water than buying from non-water. So these are the realities that face this council. It's not an easy balancing act. These are complex issues which we are tackling with the limited resources that we have. I've already touched on electricity. I don't need to go there. This is just the journey, the alignment that has already happened that I've touched on. We are a three-tier government: central, regional, and local government. You are fortunate now to talk to the local government. This is where things are happening. Things are happening at this level. Fortunate, I think I've given you enough information that local government, it is 100% aligned to the needs and the aspirations of central government. We are not working in isolation. The mandate is exactly the same. The challenges which I've said have not changed. What is important is how we respond in dealing with those changes, with those challenges. I've touched on the culture, organizational culture, which is not conducive. We are busy now in the middle of a culture assessment survey. We want to diagnose what is happening. Why are the things happening the way they are happening? To what level is this organization toxic? We want to determine that and then realign accordingly so that we can breed the right culture in the mindset of our people. There's no use, the leadership is saying something else, the masses are actually left behind. And that's what we are trying to do here. We have internal consultants and resources that are dealing with business processes. ICT systems, we have a department responsible for ICT. They are even supposed to develop programs that make this organization more effective. Structures, big issue, people were redeployed. That change will continue. Finances, big issue, as I've already mentioned. We are getting some money from RFA for traffic and road maintenance, not enough. We were even thinking about introducing some levies. I don't know whether it will even be prudent at one time to introduce, considering the affordability of our residents. So we are all jungling all these challenges that are in our face to find a sustainable funding model going forward. The best one would have been central government direct subsidy to the municipality, but we are still struggling with that one. Our debt collection have increased. I think in Windhoek now, 30 days, 35 days, you are cut. There's no other choice. Even schools are cut. Government is cut. It's reality in our face. Even attract the interest of the business community. I think we are up for any challenges. If there are any proposals that make it better, we are more than willing to do that. I don't need to touch a lot on the successes. We are only talking about a 5-year strategic plan. This is mostly what has been achieved in the last 2 years, year and a half. I think that is just for information. What we intend to do, if we can do that, this is just for your information, what we have done, what we have managed to do. I've mentioned the building plans applications. That is now the latest. 90% of all building plan applications are processed within 28 days. Keep us responsible to that. We know it's doable. We should reach 100%, and it should be business as usual. Town planning applications is another one that used to take up to 3 years. If that can be done in 6 months, we would be able to say we have done our part in making the environment conducive and even accelerating the applications. The blessing in disguise for town planning applications is also the town planning bill, which I understand is now an act. What is missing is only regulations that will actually capacitate the municipality like Windhoek. We have our own town planners, the resources we have in-house. Most of the work that is being done by township boards and other boards will be executed by Windhoek as an institution. That should accelerate all these applications that are taking 3 years and actually bring them down to 6 months, if not less. I think with those few remarks, if there are any other projects, I just touch on big projects. I hope I've done justice to this presentation. I thank you.
First of all, revise building plans. Solar water heaters must be compulsory in Windhoek, finished and clear, no longer story. The Cabinet Directive of October 2007 must be applied over the whole country. No more electrical water heaters because they cause a huge problem. I can explain that in detail at other fora. Secondly, why do we not make it compulsory to install solar panels as roof plates for every new house and replace the old ones? And pay the investors the same price, like in net metering, as the city of Windhoek would pay. That is diversification of procurement, but not only to the 5 times 5 megawatt, which is a very good step forward. But that money goes directly in the pockets of some people who can then pass it on to other people again, and the money will circulate and we will reduce the unpaid services. And the last point, public service should be electrically driven. We should have a fleet of electrical buses which are put into petrol stations where we generate our own electricity, loading our own battery. Windhoek should be the worldwide example where all public transport is run by self-generated electrical power. I stop it here. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to appeal to the city of Windhoek to provide venues for public entertainment. We have a number of artists who want to perform just for the tourists or the community within the city centers, but there's only places where they can pay, but there's no platform where they can just come with the guitars or with some drums, and then they performing, and then they may be getting some fund from the public.
Regarding the operating hours, could it be increased to at least up to 20 hours? The businesses here close at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. The time that people drive from the offices to the businesses, it's already closed. It will bring you money in the pocket by increasing, because they will use electricity, they will use water. That will be money for the municipality, and also maybe employment for the youth. How does the city of Windhoek intend to change the face of Katutura if there is no affordable land available? What is the status of Ramatex? Can it be turned into an all-Namibian hub where we can sell only Namibian products?
I'm just wondering whether the city of Windhoek has started looking at to raise municipal bonds so that we can look at the deficit that the CEO has been alluding to. And then my second question is whether perhaps we could relook at how we structure the betterment fees, because for some of us who are startups, we can't access capital from the financier. When you purchase a property in a policy area and you have to do the application that you pay for the town planner, and thereafter, because of you can't afford the betterment fees for some other reason, that most of these buildings are old and you also have to revamp them to be able to use them. So perhaps if we could restructure the betterment fees, that it's structured in your rates and taxes, at the end of the day we are paying back to the municipality, that it could really assist us for especially.
My brother, the mayor, actually understands that. I think this process with the dialogue we started about 4 years back. And when Martin was actually elected as the chairperson of the NCCI Windhoek branch, in my earlier conversations with him, I said, look, I think maybe this is one of the very few branches of the NCCI that is very blessed to actually have someone like you who has been in the corporate world. He has worked for the city of Windhoek, and now he's actually on this other side where he understands the frustrations of business himself. So it's very, very critical that you as business people, you really appreciate these efforts that are being done, because these are the people that are doing all this work voluntarily. They are doing this voluntarily. I know that we are a very small society, that sometimes when you do see somebody there, the first thing you think about, because it's the person you can't relate to, you think the person is in it for themselves. I understand what these colleagues actually have to go through to make sure that they really go out of their way, engage stakeholders to try and advocate the issues that are affecting you as business people. But of course, there are resources that are required to actually undertake all these activities, and many of them actually put in their own personal resources to make this work actually happen. So it's a pity that many of the other people actually have left, but I implore on many of you that are still here that please make sure that if you're not an NCCI member, just come on board. It's not just membership that is there that we want, it's to make sure that you are also involved. The Windhoek branch, I know that recently they have set up committees, working committees that have to drive certain issues. These committees can only be resourced, can only work if you come on board as business people. Because you are the ones that must make sure that you follow up on these issues, you articulate the views and really advocate for these views from the private sector perspective, and really make sure that you present that. So I hope it is not just going to be another busy dialogue talking platform, but that it will translate more into getting us to start to be busy doing. We've got to get busy doing than busy talking. And I know that there are some issues that have actually been raised here, and several that are very, very valid. But maybe just before I also move to my vote of thanks, just to give a few pointers, maybe some recommendations. First, on the issue of Ramatex, I want to actually assure you that we had actually engagements actually at State House level last year. And there are proposals that we put forward as NCCI. If those proposals can actually be accommodated, I can guarantee you that we are able to actually create both direct and indirect jobs up to 8,000 within 1 year. So we hope that those things will actually be elevated and be put really to work. I was also just talking to my brother here, the CEO, that maybe some of these functions you can delegate them to the chamber. And as an example, I was saying that the issue of issuing fitness certificates, maybe you can delegate that to us, and we'll be able to do it more efficiently for you, provided we know very well that definitely requires. I know somebody's shaking hands because they know. But I'm sure these are some of the things that we can actually discuss. As a chamber, there are things that are from the private sector that we are willing to make sure that we come in and also be able to actually assist. The city of Windhoek, obviously, as you walk, must be in alignment with the national vision. We are talking about having a competitive Namibia. A competitive Namibia starts at the grassroots level. Now, as the city being really the business hub, being the center, the heart of Namibia, you should also be at the level where the smaller municipalities must be looking at you as role models. You should be at a level that you're actually supposed to be resourcing and actually availing some mentorship at that level for them to get to the level where you are. So this is exactly what we want to do as business people. We must be talking about something like a one-stop shop within the city of Windhoek. I know you've mentioned about now people being able to do their registrations online and everything, their accounts and everything. How about also expanding that to make sure that when people are doing their application, they are also able to see that online. You move into that direction. And you can actually speak to the private sector. We have people in the ICT that can be able to actually come on board and assist you with that. It's very, very critical that Windhoek, the service must definitely be upped. There was also mentioned that you are actually spending about 60 million on cleaning the city of Windhoek for 600,000 residents. And when I calculated that, that's about almost $100 Namibian per person in Windhoek. Can we not raise that? We can. But what is required is a service, that the services are upped. And people will be able to be willing to say that if I'm required to only pay 100 for a year to get the city cleaned, I mean, it's not a lot of money. It's 60 million for you to raise. But when people are satisfied with the service, definitely they will commit to actually do that. I moved to Windhoek in '93. I was from a town called Grootfontein, of course originally from Katima. And that time Grootfontein was the cleanest city in Namibia. I know that. We used to be very proud about that. But if you drive through Grootfontein now, it's a very sad face. Now, Roetfontein is actually laughing at Windhoek. They thought they would maintain that status. Oh, Kigali has now actually outdone them. We need to get back on track. Whereas the city of Windhoek, you know, you can actually be a role model to the other municipalities. Many of you visit South Africa, you've gone to Soweto. There are areas in Soweto whereby they look like Ludwigsdorf. Why can't we have a 5-star hotel in the heart of Katutura? I came to Windhoek 93, like I said, before Klein Coupe actually came after independence. But there is no single street in Klein Coupe that is not tarred. And yet you have new residents where the majority of our people are, and you are creating all these nice whatever things that you're bringing up. They do not even have tarred roads. We're talking about a smart city. We need to make sure that when people who live in the city, the value or the level of the lifestyle of our people is actually valued, not because you are from east side and from west side of the railway station. This is what should be basic for you. It should matter. It should matter that when I go to Katutura, I should be able to sleep in a 4-star hotel that Martin can actually be able to actually put there, because the buying power is actually there. So these are the things that we actually propose in the city of Windhoek is matter. I was just putting down my whatever. The role of the city of Windhoek road infrastructure, I've said that. And maybe a last one more, the frequency of the forums. I think my brother has spoken that. But I would propose that probably you put down a checklist. There are many proposals that have actually come in here. The rapporteurs, I'm sure, are taking it. Put down a checklist where you have to make sure that this we've discussed and what are the solutions that we have. So that in between, before the main forum, you will have a technical group probably that's working to push some of these things. But at least when you come back, you are ticking. Otherwise, it will just end up being raw structure. Now, Martin did not mention one thing about what business people do. That's exactly what I've seen from him and his team. Martin is not somebody who wants to sit and be talking problems. He wants to say, okay, this is what must be done. Because for business people, time is money. So I don't think in his term he wants to actually have sweated to actually bring this forum to fore and to see it just end up being another talk show. So probably make sure that you also have a checklist to tick off, so that when he goes off, obviously, there is a legacy that is actually brought there. It's very, very important to understand that, you know, when you have a person who is an entrepreneur himself, has put their time in, because they want to share and they want to see other people develop, we must make sure that we pull in the same direction and actually assist them. On that note, I also feel that maybe in future engagements, please make sure that you also invite the labor. Invite labor and involve labor. There were proposals here of having to maybe extend hours of operations or whatever. When it comes to the labor union, the first thing they're talking about is actually wages. So you create a mentality in people's minds that, you know, when you have to work extra hours, you know, it's about overtime rather than productivity. We need to make sure that we really embrace productivity, that every Namibian knows what they are doing is for the interest of this country, and they'll do it beyond the call of duty. Very critical. So beyond that, now let me do my vote of thanks. Mayor, Your Worship, I want to thank you, the Deputy Mayor, and your team, really. I hope that it's not going to be another postponement to see this forum happening 6 months or 8 months later. We pray for stability in the city of Windhoek. As Namibians, in any society, for society to move and improve, we have to do things out of love. Anything can never happen if you harbor hatred. And we are a very small country that we have to look at each other as brothers and sisters. If there are differences, let's work them out internally and make sure that when you go out, the picture that we portray there is a picture of unity, productivity, that we want to move the country forward. I want to thank the Windhoek Exco. Your work is really appreciated. And I probably would actually urge you that please just find a mechanism to also make sure that you provide regular feedback to your members, because some of them, they don't really understand the extent at which you are doing, the extra miles of the work that you're putting in to go and make things happen. I urge the business people that are here, please make sure that you come closer to your branch. Even if you're not a member, come closer, because at the end of the day, some of the things that a major part of the work that the branch, even the organization itself does, whether you are a member or not, you still benefit. If we try to say the city of Windhoek now reduces their rates and taxes, whatever, it's not only going to be NCCI members that benefit from that. Everybody else benefits. Most of these things that we're talking about here, eventually they'll end up benefiting even those that are not members. So we'll be engaging with my brother, especially the CEO, to make sure that some of these things definitely, maybe there should be preferential incentives for NCCI members. Because it's work that we're doing, and we need to make sure that, we can sustain also our service delivery. To every one of you that has come, I want to also thank, what is this now? Sorry, before Simon cuts my head. Simon Storm Security, Lithon Holdings, and Namibia Breweries. Thank you very much for providing actually the refreshments, which was actually the water that we had here. And members of the media that actually came here, we hope you are a very critical mouthpiece of not only the organization that you work for, but for the country. Let's try to make sure that we can actually also send positive messages about our own country. Because when we send the negative messages, obviously we chase away investors, and it's our people that end up being on the streets. Then you and I cannot sleep peacefully, because these very same people will come to our homes and look, for bread and butter in our homes. So let's go move Namibia with a positive spirit, that when positive things are actually happening, let's make sure that we transmit those messages. If I have forgotten anybody, every one of you that has been here, you are appreciated. Thank you so much, and may you have a very blessed and productive day ahead. Thank you.